Hey there, welcome to LSAT Demon Daily. I'm Josh Mansfield, a teacher with the Demon, and with me is Nathan Fox, one of the founders of lsatdemon.com and the weekly podcast Thinking LSAT. Nate, our first email today is from Megan with the subject of how do I afford to live while in law school?
Megan says, "Hi, Demon. I just started studying for the LSAT, but the one thing that's in the back of my mind is affording school/basic necessities. I graduated in 2025 and I've been working full time while I begin to study for the LSAT. I'm wondering how people afford to live and go to school at the same time. This is something that scares me. Thank you in advance for your help."
This is such an adult email from Megan. The number of students who look at tuition price and go, look, my tuition's only $15,000 a year. That's all I have to pay. That's great. And then don't think about fees and books and housing and until they've signed on the dotted line, right? It's the afterthought. So I just want to give Megan props right off the bat for thinking about this as
Yep.
she's like considering law schools broadly. And very, very great start, Megan.
Yep. Part-time programs are always an option. Megan says she has a full-time job. There are part-time law programs. Matter of fact, all law programs used to be part-time. I mean, that's how it was 100 years ago. No one had the privilege of going to law school full-time. It was like the vast majority of lawyers were night school, and that's still a vibrant thing. That is an option, Megan. So part-time programs take 4 years usually instead of 3, but you could keep your full-time job. One thing that I really like about part-time programs is that nobody takes them so seriously. You don't have any K through JDs in there who are just like, studying 24 hours a day or who don't have any outside perspective because everybody has a job. I think
Job
that,
actively, yeah.
and I think that, you know, just pretty much guaranteed that the outside perspective that people with jobs bring to the law school classroom is going to enhance the discussion. It's going to like sort of take it out of the ivory tower a little bit and into like the real world when people have jobs. So that's certainly one option. These days there's also now a lot of rapidly growing access to online programs and things that are wildly cheaper, that fit more with your life. For example, you don't have to move to a different city. You could potentially continue to live with your parents and do an online law program. So you're not, at the same time paying for rent and transportation and food and utilities and all that stuff if you're doing potentially if you're doing an online program.
The other thing, Megan, if you're more interested in a traditional program, go to law school for free. Get a stipend, right? It's great when your law school cuts you a check every year to help pay for those things. And then at that point as well, the other thing, if you do law school the right way, and this is speaking as a current 1L, you absolutely can work at the same time.
Yeah.
Now, full-time, probably not, right? So if you're paying tuition and basic living, life gets hard, and I don't recommend it. But if you can go get a full scholarship, and then you do law school the right way, and you work, when you're at the law school, you're doing the work, and you're focused and diligent, and you have good study habits, there's no reason you can't work 20 hours a week. And the law schools are going to tell you that you can't. It's not true. It's busy, and it takes some discipline.
Yeah.
But you totally can. And then that can help pay for those kind of basic living things as well.
I think there used to be like ABA restrictions against working, or maybe there still are restrictions against working in the 1L year. But yeah, if you can't do law school in 30 hours a week, then you probably also can't do law school in 80 hours a week. So put law school into a box by having a part-time job, and that will help you to defray the expenses. I mean, the thing we should have said first, and thank you, Josh, for bringing it up, is that if you go to lsatdemon.com/scholarships and you put in your GPA and an LSAT score, and then you put in like a 10-point higher LSAT score, you'll realize that the price of law school changes dramatically based on numbers. And paying tuition for law school is essentially optional. It's only like 19% of law students nationwide who pay full price. And at many schools, people are, there'll be more people there on a full ride or full ride plus stipend than there are who actually pay full price for that school. So that's a big, big lever. Josh, you mentioned $15,000 a year earlier. Where? I mean, more law schools charge $50,000 a year than charge $15,000 a year.
Right. And I was meaning after scholarships.
So after the
so yeah, the, students the tuition will be 30 and then they'll get 15 and they're like, "Oh my gosh, look at this great scholarship I got. It's only $15,000."
Right.
And that's what they're selling you on, even though nobody actually pays 30 or 50 or whatever the number is.
No. So make sure you apply broadly. Apply early if you can, broadly with the best LSAT score you can achieve. Take it multiple times if necessary, because every point is like $10,000 or $15,000 in scholarship money. And get yourself the right price for law school, which is very often zero. And as Josh mentions, even negative. Law schools give stipends to their most qualified applicants. And by most qualified applicants, we mean high LSAT, high GPA.
Yep.
So first of all, consider tuition optional. Decide how much tuition you actually want to pay. And then as far as all those living expenses and stuff, you can borrow it. You will have access to, $50,000 a year in loan money. But if you can avoid that debt by getting a stipend or by working part-time, that's definitely what you should do.
Anything else for Megan?
No, I think that's it.
Okay. Thanks, Megan, for writing in. Email daily at lsatdemon.com if you'd like to ask us a question or share some LSAT or law school admissions news. Thanks for listening.